Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're safe and well. Hope you are safe and well. If you're around here, you know what to do. You know what to do. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. The last bin day before it all goes back to normal. Oh, back to normal Wednesdays. Oh, can't wait. Can't wait. Anyway, hope you're safe and well. Obviously, yesterday we had did a few bits yesterday. We had Old School Hammers with Kieran and Budgie and Steve. That was good fun. Talking about the January transfer windows, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then myself, Anton, and Alex did a show yesterday evening about, what now? What now? What now? In terms of the transfer market, in terms of the side, in terms of, we spoke at everything really. It literally started off talking about the transfer, where we are now. Then we started talking about the youth team. We started talking about David Moyes, and is the criticism that Thomas Souček gets justified? It went on and on. Now, one thing that we've been speaking about recently, and one thing that has been that people say, in terms of a criticism of Moyes, is his lack of rotation. And that's why when we've had. A lot of other sides, Newcastle, Brighton, they've had a lot more injuries than us. But one of the reasons why people think that they can cope them better is because of squad rotation, squad depth. Not necessarily the squad depth, because people assume that people say, he's, the squad is good enough. I don't think he's on it, in honesty. But in terms of squad rotation. So, you know me. I like looking at data. I like looking at facts. I like looking at numbers. Same as when people say, Moyes, one thing we gets hit over the head is he doesn't bring through the youth team, which is fair enough. But no one else does really as well. So I went through and looked at the data. So that's what we try and do. Try and put things in perspective. Now, the narrative is, we have played a lot of games this season. And so we're going to go through it and we're going to just show you some numbers. And you can draw your own conclusions. We're all humans. We're only human after all. Don't put the blame on me. But we are. We can't vote on your opinions. We try and present facts. We try and present lots of numbers, and you can make your own adjustment. And there's going to be, and again, I call it, the facts from the narrative, because I think sometimes, people say, what three people say, or what, an interview here or someone on Twitter, and then it's sort of gospel, and then everyone looks at it and goes, yeah, that's the way it is. But actually, I still think, despite what happens and how, and how the way of social media is, I don't think there is a 80%, 90% Moyes out. I just don't. I think in certain sectors and talking to certain groups and of fan bases that it would be, but as a whole, I don't think it is. And the fact is, you see when people are either side of the fence, and when they talk about stuff on social media, they have just as many people praising what they're saying as disagreeing with it. So it's clear there's still, there is a divide. We know there's a divide. So that's what we try and do. Present the facts, and you can come with your own opinions. Let's see what we got. Trevor, blame the FA, not Moyes. Do what the Germans do. Have a holiday. That means there's a holiday break now. The fact is, if we'd beaten Bristol City, we'd have had 12 days off. Then we play Sheffield United. We've got another 2 weeks off after that. The next home game next Premier League isn't until the 1st of February after Sheffield United. That's what I'm saying. We've got, from now until January, the end of January, if we'd beaten Bristol City, we wouldn't have had. We've had the Sheffield United game, then we would have played on the 28th, and then we would have played on the Thursday. If we lose on Tuesday, which is all possibilities we could do, a sellout Ashton Gate, then we'd play Sheffield United, then we wouldn't play again until the first. So it's sort of a double-edged sword. In fact, that's the worst thing we could have done is actually gone to a replay, because we played the replay, and if we win the replay, that's the worst possible outcome as well, because then we get another game where we've played extra games, 2 extra games, or an extra game where we shouldn't have had to play. So anyway, afternoon, if we'd beaten them, 13 days indeed. Oi, oi. Shantarama, hope you're well. 7 Bond, James Bond, minus 35, mate. Colder than Moyes' heart. It's a bit nippy here in all church, not minus 35, but it's like 3 or 4 degrees. Lots of snow here also. Afternoon, Steve. Hope you well. How you feeling better, mate? Hope you all well. Frano, good evening to you. Blighty, it's a steady 1C. Alan, good evening to you. Over in Australia, 20 days to sort the transfer window. Same as everything. Same as everything, though, isn't it? It's like, and again, during the summer, there was widespread panic amongst the fan base in terms of Declan Rice has gone, oh, we haven't invested, and it just takes, then it's bosh. This is not a David Moyes January transfer window. This is a Tim Steidten January transfer window. I have no doubt he is bivvering away, trying to sort stuff out. And it takes time, and January's never an easy time to buy. We know that. Clubs, it's halfway through their season. Your best bet is to go out and buy Brazilians, in all honesty, because the Brazilian season's finished. But everything else is midway through their season. But anyway, had to refresh what? BBC are showing, yep, is indeed. Well, that tells you where they see a shock, or not even a shock. That's what they see, and it's going to be banging at Ashton Gate. We had obviously was it Ben? Yeah, was it Tom? I can't remember. So bad. Sorry, Ben or Tom. He messaged me to say that Ashton Gate's completely sold out. Fair play. Every ticket's gone. I know from, as I said, my firm's head office is in Bristol, and they've been messaging me, and they've all got their tickets. No one offered me one though. No one. If we had a decent squad, getting a couple of K would be a good thing to get the players some game time. Afternoon GP, hope you're well. Steve's in the chat. Hope you're well, Steve. Steve Budgie and Kieran were on last night. Go and check that out. Russ wants a Brazilian, don't we always? Good morning, Robert. Anyway, so that's what I'm going to do. Going to go through some of the stats, some of the figures, and we can digress. We can digress, and we can digest and digress. So firstly, that's the Bristol City game last week. West Ham have played 30 games this season. 30, which is a lot. Again, I haven't gone back to see. It would have been a similar number to what we played for before, in terms of last season, because of the way it all works. Actually, it would have been more, because we qualified for I think we played 2 more this time last year, because we would have played the Viborg games home and away, the pre-qualifiers for the Conference League. So we're slightly, I can't be 100% sure, but I need to check that. In terms of who's played the most, Thomas Souček, who we spoke about yesterday, does he deserve all the I don't know, sort of the criticism he gets, and we sort of said I don't think he does really as much as he does do. But I think the idea, I think some people made a good assumption that maybe because Souček, for the Moyes out people, don't still call him a brigade now because that's condescending. For the people who have a Moyes out outlook, Thomas Souček does represent everything that Moyes epitomizes for and stands for, really, and that's probably why, maybe. But Souček's made the most appearances this season. He's had 25 starts and 4 sub appearances. So, that's quite a few. So almost every game he's played so far this season. He's not injured though. So, despite the fact, we're saying we're playing a lot of players, a lot of games, the ones who played the most, bar Bowen, I think, aren't injured. So again, it's just it's horses for courses, I think, a little bit. In terms of looking at, and this is a lovely chart, total appearances this season, you can see Souček's up there with JWP. JWP's 1 less. Then Emerson, Paqueta, Bowen, Alvarez, Soufal, Kudus. So you look down that list. Souček hasn't got injured this season yet, touch wood. JWP hasn't. Emerson hasn't. He's just been suspended. Paqueta has. Bowen is now. Alvarez isn't injured, hasn't been injured, he's been suspended. Sufel hasn't. He took a knock, didn't he? Caduceus hasn't been injured. Neither's Fornals. Aguerd's been ill. Ben Rama hasn't been injured. So actually, when you look down the list, the people who are a lot injury prone have played less games. Antonio, Zuma, Cornet, obviously. The guys at the top, with the exception of maybe Paqueta and Bowen now, haven't got injured. Marshall will definitely be in the squad on Tuesday. We'll wait and see. We'll be interested to see the starting lineup versus those on the subs. We're going to go through all this, Greeno. We're going to go through it all. And what we're going to try and do is put a little bit of perspective and look at it from and I'm going to concentrate on the Premier League, because obviously that's the issue we've got now, is the Premier League. Europe is nice to have, and it's an addition to that. So let's have a look and see. So in terms of the Premier, have I got the Premier League stats? Yeah. Okay. So in terms of the Premier League stats, looking at the total number of Premier League players used this season, we can see West Ham are in the bottom half in terms of numbers of players used. Now, obviously, this doesn't take into this. This is the number of. So someone like Newcastle have used. I think they've used 30 so far this season in 19 games, but they've had 11 injuries. Same as Brighton. Chelsea have had a lot of injuries as well. So that can be sort of, you can understand that. Fulham have only used 20 players. I think we used 22 or 20. It's 22. Same as the likes of Everton, Liverpool, Man City, and one less than the likes of Arsenal and Aston Villa and Spurs. So that's sort of where we are. So we're in the bottom third in terms of the total numbers of players used in the Premier League. And obviously that includes 1 minute sub appearances. That includes 60-minute sub appearances. That's total appearances. Looking at those who have made 15 or more Premier League appearances. So you can see West Ham mid-table. We've gone up a little bit mid-table. So in terms of Liverpool, almost 14 of their squad, actually it is 14 of their playing squad have made at least 15 Premier League appearances. And again, that includes sub appearances. That includes 87 minutes appearances. So that's the whole gamut of appearances. So you can see we're probably, we've got about, I think it's 11 players in our squad, and our total number of players who have played so about half ish, slightly less than half. I think it's 48%. I've probably got the stat if I haven't got it already. No, I haven't. No, I haven't. So about 48%. Now, obviously, people will say they've got. Yeah, I know. That's what I mean. Mental, isn't it? People would have said, and when I put this stuff out on Twitter, people said they won't look at the minutes, because obviously you're right. Nick was right. We as same as every other side does tend to we'll make substitutions at different times. We'll make it with 5 minutes to go, with a minute to go, or whatever. So in terms of minutes played, so again, I'm just concentrating on the Premier League, because I couldn't see. I could, and maybe as a follow up, I'll look at the whole season so far and look into the likes of Liverpool and people who are on the similar number of games as us, and seeing how well they've sort of separated everything. Because actually, you can't compare Chelsea and West Ham in total, because obviously Chelsea didn't play in Europe, for example. So that's what I'm trying to get at. So let's look at the number of minutes. So these guys here, including people being linked to, i.e. guys like Kilman, for example, they have played every minute of the Premier League campaign so far. So it was 1,800, I think, 1,800 minutes. Yes, a lot of them are goalkeepers. They tend to. We know that. But the likes of Max Kilman, Saliba, Anderson, obviously they are non-goalkeepers, and they've played every minute of the season so far, which maybe shows. To be honest, was it year before last? Tommy Soucek played every minute bar one, because he got sent off the last minute against Fulham away, if you remember. So it's when people go, we don't have people who have played every minute. There has been some movement. there has been some movement of the games of players. In terms of our top sort of minutes per, in terms of per player, Bowen and Soufal are top of the pile. They've both played 1,700 minutes in the Premier League so far, 706. There's JWP, Emerson. So you see someone like Thomas Souček, despite the fact he has made the most appearances, he's actually hasn't made the most minutes because obviously he tends to get substituted when we need to bring someone in who's a bit more attack-minded. So he's sort of the go-to sort of sub, him and Alvarez, really, isn't it? Because Alvarez usually got a yellow card, and so they swap him for maybe a Ben Rama or someone like that. So that's how they all look. Now, do I have? I think I've got it as a graph because I'm sure everyone likes to see a good old graph, and there it is. So and so someone like Tilo Kira, you see Obama's had minutes. You see, that everyone's had minutes there. Even Maxwell Cornet, who I think's had like 1 minute of Premier League football. And when you look at that, it's it's clear we do know there is a first 11, and you can see that there. Bowen, Soufal, JWP, Emerson, Areola, Souček. It's there to see. Literally the first 11 players are our best first 11, which isn't a bad thing. Because we know it's, but the trouble is now the likes of, as you said, Bowen being injured a lot, and you're right. There's a clear difference between the first and the rest, and that's what we were trying to say. That's what I was saying. He does favour. We know that he favours a set 11 in the Premier League, pretty much. I think he got a cut. Yeah, he did, but he does. There was quite a bit where he would get substituted. He would be substituted rather than necessarily Alvarez. For a few games, particularly in the beginning of the season, I remember. So the likes of Ogbonna will be getting more minutes if at the moment because of Ged, because this will change. This will come change probably by the end of say February, with the likes of Ogbonna getting more minutes because of Tio leaving, but also because of a Ged. Obama, you might see getting more minutes as well. So this will invariably change, and Bowen obviously will get less minutes, and so will Paqueta, and so will Kudus. And so, you will see a flattening slightly of that, I think, come the end of January. You're right, he had a suspension, and also Alvarez gets yellow cards, doesn't it? So when he gets a yellow card, he tends to get substituted in favour of Ben Rama, for example, in order to give him the chance of not being suspended for the next game. And Emerson got don't forget also on top of that as well, Emerson that got suspended for a game as well. So realistically, if he'd played that, pretty much he'd be pretty much where he is. Shows how much he likes Cornet, shows how much. Don't forget, Cornet has been, he was injured and then he was away and then he came back and he had again, it's like we had a situation where he was probably fifth choice. That might have changed slightly now, but I still don't think you'll see that changing too much. But I think it's quite funny how Maxwell Cornet has the smallest possible line on that. But how does it relate to the other Premier League sides? Because I think that's the thing. Yes, it's clear that Moyes does play the same people. That ain't going to be a massive surprise to people. We know he plays the same, pretty much the same 11. But how does that reflect against the rest of the Premier League? Because that's one criticism he has, is he doesn't rotate in the Premier League. He doesn't rotate his squad enough. And that's an issue. But I would suggest actually it's, again, not necessarily a similar issue, but there are other clubs in the Premier League which do a similar thing to him. He's not the only one. He's not the only one. People say he's a dreamer. No, he's not. So basically 48% of our, so people are like, I would say how many have played 900 minutes, because, saying that, I don't know, 30, so Newcastle, saying 30 people have played in your squad's great. Is it? I don't know, but say 30 people. Some have only played 10 minutes here. Some play a minute here. What's the point? So what we've done is we've looked at certain people like, what about 900 minutes or more? That's to me assumes that you've made quite a few appearances. There's been some rotation. It's not the fact is, oh look, we've played He's Fornals has played 10 games. But if he's only played 2 minutes in each of those games, that's not really rotation. So for me, we've got 48% of West Ham squad have made over 900 Premier League minutes this season. So despite the fact we've got 11, those 11 clearly, there is at least half have made it. But how does that correspond to the other side in terms of the other Premier Leagues? Let's have a look in terms of the other sides. So you'll see West Ham, we're high up there. In terms of average Premier League minutes played per player, we're up there. We're near the top. We're not as top. We're not, we're third. We're joint secondish. So Liverpool at the top, then Arsenal, then Wolves and West Ham. Then you got Luton and then Palace, and obviously the likes of Sheffield United and Newcastle, for example. Newcastle has played so many players that actually on an average per Premier League minute, that's not so great. That's not so great. Let's have a quick look and see what we've got in the chat. Let's go for some comments and we'll move on a little bit. Shows how much you wanted a lollipop. Good afternoon, Mo. Hope you're well. Are you doing a watch on? Yeah, we will be. We will be. How many of the first 11 are not available for the next few weeks? Exactly. A few of them, definitely. If Russ does, it'll be a good game. Poor Anton gets to watch some Josh games. Russ is Kuna from Wolves still on. Never even heard of. We were linked with Kuna, to be honest. If we, God forbid, lost Souček and Alvarez to injury or suspension, we'd be down to 4 now. I don't know who. Not surprising, I start to make little impact, and they don't get enough game time on the pitch to gel with the first team. But they do. And they do across, I know we're just looking at the Premier League now, but if you looked at, minutes for all season, the likes of Fornals has almost made 900 minutes across this season in the same way as which is only, Ben Rama, 1,100 minutes this season. Antonio, despite being injured, almost 900 minutes. Fabianski, almost 1,000 minutes. So they have. I just don't think when they have been as successful as they could have been. I think they're not as good as they were. And someone I was talking to the other day said, I think it was Nick actually, said, they were good enough last year. They are, but this squad is different now. This is a situation now where we've got in midfield, you've got the likes of Alvarez, JWP, you've got some really good Kudus, you've got some extra players now, which mean the roles of Fornals will be lessened because Kudus is in the side. And Paqueta's been moved to the left-hand side to accommodate for Alvarez and JWP and Souček. So the way the team is set up is different to last year. So the likes of Fornals, the likes of Ben Rama are getting less game time. But the likes of Ben Rama is 28, 29. Fornals is 28, 29. So these guys are getting older as well. We're bringing in younger players. So I think although they don't get the minutes, when they do, they haven't shown. They haven't shined. They haven't said we should be. It might be completely lack of motivation and thinking, well, even if I do play well, I'm not going to be picked. Possibly, but then there's professional integrity as well. I don't know. Moyes reminds me of an old school manager of mine. You play, you've lost your spot in 11, and you have to win it back. Yeah, I get that. I'll start calling for Bristol. I don't think he will. By subs, I mean squad players. I know what you mean. Sorry, just joined. What have I missed? But doesn't the lower average mean they are rotating more? That's why I'm looking. That's why I'm going to look at things slightly differently, Bill, because of that. Because actually, you're right. It means they're being rotated. It means Liverpool obviously are. If you look at that one particularly, Liverpool rotating their squad less than us then. If the average EPL minute is more, and we're the same as Arsenal. A lower one also means that they've had injuries, and obviously they're giving people. So Newcastle, for example, they probably in total played roughly the same amount of minutes as we have as a club, but we've had 23 players play in the Premier League at the same time. Newcastle have had 30, so naturally that is. And the reason why they're rotating, so they had so many injuries. So that's the trouble. That's always one stat does not make the bigger picture. People go, it's great because Newcastle are rotating. It's because Newcastle have had 11 players out. They've had to play a completely different side. What's the average age of the bench? Quite old. No names, so I'm always out. Okay, thank you, Naomi. It's good to know, man. Good to know, bud. So in terms of those, so I broke down the squad usage. So in terms of who's played, the percentage of the overall Premier League squad who's played 900 minutes more, between 500 and 900, between 300 and 500, and less than 300. And you can see, Arsenal, us stand out, Palace, Everton, in terms of a higher percentage of our squad playing more minutes. Or playing more minutes in total. So I think it is 48% of our squad have made over 900 appearances, 900 minutes in the Premier League. So in terms of that, okay, well, let's have a look. So let's look at, and I think that's how it's broken down. Yeah, 48% of our squad have played 900 minutes, and then 9% of between 5 and 8 and 899, 13% 300 to 499, and less than 300, 30%. So that to me can show quickly, if you're looking for a third or a third or a third, 48%, almost half, have played a lot, 30% have played not a lot, and 20% have played a little bit, basically, to put it into layman's terms. So that 30%, if that 30% was more, if you had like 40, like maybe 38%, 30%, be great. It'd probably be better if that percentage of the 900 minutes was less of our squad, and less than 300 was less as well. So that sort of middle ground would take up, and that middle ground will take up in the next month or so, because it has to, because of the injuries, not through choice, but through necessity. So the likes of Fornals get more minutes, and Barmer get more minutes. Oggy will get more minutes. So you'll see that 30% in terms of less than 300 will decrease and go across. So he is playing his 11 a lot more, and that's what he's doing. He knows his best 11. Keane always criticised managers for not knowing the best. How the front three rank against front threes the others in goals and assists? Indeed, you're right. We'll drop down the table without Patman, Kudus, and Bowen, in my opinion, we need strengthening. I'm Moyes in the brown hole. Very good. These stats are even better than 2 years ago. About 8 of the squad played less than 300 minutes. Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, the squad is, I think squad numbers, I think it'd be interesting. I might go back and look at how it's developed, maybe as a follow up in the last, and do it as a short, or do it as a little sort of update in terms of how it's developed over the last 3 years under Moyes. Has it changed? It might not. It might have got worse. We don't know. This is like being back at school. I just want to put some numbers out there, GP. Because we always say things, and people will say, "Oh, he's always been like this," or da 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 da, and they're throwaway comments, which then people go, "Yeah, they are." But actually, we've got some numbers to back it up, and he is playing. He's 11 a lot. He is, but we know that. But the numbers are here to back it up. But what I'm saying is, it's not just a West Ham thing. So the same as he doesn't bring through the academy, which he doesn't. But it's not just a West Ham thing. It's a Premier League thing. You're seeing here that there's other sides who are heavily reliant on their 11s as well. Arsenal, for example, second in the third, whether in the league, whether Arsenal, Liverpool, top of the league, heavily reliant on their starting 11. I mean, as I said, Liverpool, I'm just looking at their side now. It's a lot of minutes. Salah's made over. Where Salah's made a hell of a lot of minutes, and if he got injured, that would be a huge issue for them. They've got enough to contend for a game or two, but if it went on and on, if he was out, if they sold him, that'd be a huge hole to fill. Same as Alisson, same as Virgil van Dijk. They've got these players, and it's just. I think every side has them, though. When Moyes' back is against the wall is when we do well. You're right. You tell you, Moyes converts horses into donkeys. International starters like Kira, Fornals, Cornet. Cornet was an international starter, though. Nowhere near their national sides. Fornals played twice. No, 3 times, a lady. 3 times for his national side. And twice. And I think he was only under 21s when we bought him from Villarreal. And then he became an international, but he's been on the peripherals. Tilo Kehrer, yeah, I'll give you that one. Judging from Dean in Nobes' testimonial, can we prize him out of retirement? No, bless old Ashton. Best old Ashton. So in terms of the percentage of the squad who have played 90 minutes, 900 minutes plus, you'll see we're 4th. Everton, Arsenal, Palace, slightly more heavily reliant on their squads than we are. There you go. Liverpool in the middle, despite a lot of them playing a lot of minutes, they've got Liverpool have a lot of people who play a lot of minutes and not so many who play a bit in between, if that makes sense. City, again, this is not 100% because City haven't played the full allocation so far. They're one game behind. So the likes of Brentford, so the likes of people like that as well. So it's not 100% even across the playing field, but it gives you an idea. We are there. I mean, the likes of Newcastle, you expect to be lower down, same as Brighton because they've had a lot of injuries. Same as people like Burnley, Forest, because they've got different managers. Obviously, Burnley, they brought a lot of players in. Forest, new managers, so they're trying out new things. Man United aren't playing well, so they're trying new things and a few injuries here or thereabouts. So you can see why some of it's justified. Wolves are up there as well, if you are well and paid well, you don't want to play. If you want to play, pull your finger out in training when you get your chance to take it. I totally agree, Andrew. Fourth, and that squad as well as a cup. So maybe Moyes is right in being loyal. That could be a takeaway from it. But in the same way, of the flip side is when we're not doing well, this is what people bang his head against. The fact that he doesn't rotate enough. And so when the chips are down, when people are injured, then, but you're right. I mean, it does show a level of loyalty, which sometimes loyalty in football is a rare commodity. But is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because people maybe he is too loyal to likes of Tommy Soucek. Isn't that what they call the core of the team, whereas other positions are changed to freshen up or give the opposition something to think about? You're right. And don't forget someone like Kudus, for example. He came into it within, towards the end of August where he played a number of games already. Same as Alvarez. So again, they've proportionally probably played the same proportionally as someone like a Tommy Soucek, for example. Although don't forget, Kudus took a few games because he wasn't ready, wasn't he? Apparently, Klopp can bring on a player off the bench and they play their best. West Ham do it, and the player is a shadow of themselves. I just don't think our subs are good enough anymore now. I think that to me is an area we need to improve on. So the takeaway is either Moyes has not been able to develop a squad, and only our new players are good enough for the first team, or most of the players are just not good enough. Well, maybe the fact is. I mean, what else have I got? I've probably got a few more. You could sub Alvarez if you were to get injured. Who's rolling the dice without a decent option? You're totally right. I just don't think we've got someone like Alvarez. I think when he's out the side, that's always an area I've always wanted us to improve in January. Maybe it's going to take a back step, maybe for bringing in better, a forward option, defensive options. But yeah, if we finish fourth at the end with 2 cups, I'll be more than happy. I think also, Andrew, I think we all would be, mate. In terms of the squad who have played 500 plus minutes, West Ham mid-table. Liverpool still up there. So that's what I mean. You see, Liverpool they have a lot of players, higher percentage of players who are sort of shared it around almost the entire. I think it's about 78% of their whole squad have played at least 500 minutes. For West Ham, it's a little over 50. It's almost come up to 60%. So that's where the issue is. It's not necessarily the 11, but actually that's a level of loyalty. But when you start including the guys on the bench, we're sort of mid-table. We're not as worse as Chelsea or Newcastle, but again, an issue with that is a lot of them will be getting 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. So we do have the squad is, in terms of average usage, is about mid-table. And we'd like that a few more spots up, wouldn't we? In all honesty, we'd want more regular game time or more minutes for the likes of Fornals and stuff, which arguably they get in European games, but not in the Premier League. I think that's fair enough to say. We missed out on Dyer. He's gone to Keynes. Yeah, he does. He's gone to Bayern Munich. There's nothing wrong with a strong first 11. It's a fringe player, not good enough, so new players needed to try and. That's what I think. Ken, that's the way I've been looking at it, and I've been called out for being critical of the likes of Fornals and Ben Rama, but these guys I just don't think are good enough anymore now. I just don't think they are. And yeah, you could look into the reason. Is it because they're unmotivated? Is it because they think whatever I bring in, whatever I do, I'm not going to upset the apple cart? Possibly. But we don't know that. We can only speculate, can't we, really? Maybe our expectations are higher and we've improved as a team, so the newer players are that much better. We are now leading to the next level. I think you're right. I think, yeah, I think the squad, I think you're looking at our first 11, I think the first 11 has improved since last year. You got to think when Souček came in, the revelation of what Souček was, and Bowen, when Moyes first came in, we were right in the cauldrons. We needed some people to come in and save our season, save us from relegation. Now we're in a situation where we go into a January transfer window and we're sixth in the league. As Nick said the other day, with 9 points or 10 points from safety. That's his positive. But it's true, though. And actually, yes, we've got a few injuries, but the likes of Paqueta, by all accounts, because he's a medical professional, he reckons he's not going to be out for between 6 to 8 weeks. Bowen's out for 2 to 3 weeks, which in theory means he could just miss one game, being the Sheffield United game. And then by then he'll be back. Antonio's probably back maybe by the Bournemouth game as well. So it's really one Premier League game. If we do beat Bristol City, which I don't know if we will, to be honest, I think our chance was to have won on last week, because Bristol City are going to come. They're going to come and do exactly what they did against us in London Stadium and smash us to bits. And I don't think we've got anyone on the park who's, apart from maybe Alvarez, who will put it about enough in my eyes. We need depth that can compete with us. Exactly. If the guys, if the guys we bring in are just as good, or maybe a little bit less, not as good, but can, outperform others, then there is a possibility. Then that breeds better squad rotation, because Moyes says he's 11. He's trusted 11, and clearly he doesn't trust, or he doesn't think the likes of Fornals and are capable enough to come in. They have to sometimes, because that's how squads work, and injuries and substitutions. But I look at our bench, like for the Bristol City game and before, and I'm going, where's the game changers? Where's the ones who are going to make a difference? And again, you're right. You look at Liverpool's bench. If Salah's played, then Gakpo might be on the bench, or Diaz might be on the bench, and guys who can come on and make a difference. We haven't got that. And that's the thing which always, I think when Fornals is coming on, he's not coming on to make a difference. He's coming in to tie up the game, or just have a go and show a bit of energy. For me, there's no incentive. It's no like, wow, this is fantastic. This is who we want to bring on. That might change eventually when everyone's back. If Antonio is fit, and him as an option off the bench is a genuine option, which I think is really exciting. Could be really exciting, but we'll see. If players aren't good enough, let them leave. And then, I think it's not a case of let them leave, Adrian. I'm sorry. I just saw the West Ham. I'll line up. Adrian, I don't think. I mean, there's obviously, we know we're listening to offers for 4 or 5 players, but those offers need to come in. And if they ain't going to come in, then they're hanging around. Takes 2 to transfer, as always. FFP limits options in 2024. FFP will always limit options. I'm all into it. Off the bench and back to work now. Take care, man. If there's no competition for places, players like Souček, no, they don't have to play well to keep their place. Moyes has mugged off the squad. But, and someone made a point on Twitter the other day, or X, whatever you call it, about Tommy Souček. And we spoke about him yesterday in a lot of detail, actually. He's in the top 10 Premier League all-time goal scorers for us. I'm just going to let that sink in for a minute. Thomas Souček is in the top 10 of Premier League all-time goal scorers at West Ham. Tommy Souček bleeds every game for West Ham. Isn't that what we want in a player? In a combative midfielder, don't we want someone who's going to bleed for us? Don't we want someone who's going to keep running? Tommy Souček does that. Yes, he's not a Lukas Paqueta. Yes, he's not a... he's not going to spray a 30-yard pass or rainbow flick a ball over someone's head and volley it into the top corner. But not everyone does that. And you can't have a side full of people like that. You need people like Tommy Souček to allow people like Paqueta to run. If you don't have him, there, then you'll lose a massive physical presence in our midfield. And as much as he's not, and I probably would prefer someone more creative in there. But what he brings to the side goes under the radar. It's a bit like, and every West Ham side has had that Jeff Pike. I said yesterday, has had that Hayden Mullins, has had that Pete Butler. I said the guy who's just going to put a foot in. He's just going to get in the way, and that's what and puts his head on anything. And that's why I just don't think his criticism is justified. Because he scores more than he's 2 goals away from overtaking Lanzini, and he's played 40 games less. Anyway, Brighton are second, and we were well above them, and they were cup to hand, so maybe rotation doesn't always work. You might be right, mate. But I think rotation, the trouble is, we know he doesn't rotate, and that's always been his way. And that was obviously the issue 2 years ago in the Europa League, the first time, because obviously we were running high and flying, and then we got a bit tired towards the end. So there does need to be rotation. But then again, I look at the likes of Fornals. Now I know, last year he still made 50 appearances. Don't know how many minutes, I could work that out, but he made 50 appearances on his score sheet. So he's still rotated. But anyway, we're not the same club. Fans expect more and players expect more, but we need to be real. Our bench is shit. I agree. Not shit. I just don't think it's as strong as it can be. If new players are that much better, then we as fans are telling the rest that they are not good enough. I don't believe that. I think it's something else. You can probably guess. Possibly. Yeah. Cressy and old guys need to move on. I agree. Why don't we buy Gibbs White from Forest? Because it's cost a lot of money, my friend, isn't it? That's the trouble. His running sets may be the best, but his tackles and passes are not as good, surely. You're right. They're not. But he's scored 8 goals this season, and he's well on the way to score the most ever goals he's ever scored for West Ham. And as I said, he's in. So it's like, but in the same way, I think that if you looked at Lukas Paqueta's pass completion rate, it's not going to be great because he tries a lot of things and they come off, and some do and some don't, and so, the amount of times that I think that Bristol City game, Alvarez lost the ball a lot, but we didn't really talk about it because we didn't play very well at all. But, so I think there's always you haven't got a complete player, Yes, Paqueta is a beautiful player. He likes to get foot in. He gives away a lot of fouls. He does this away, but I'm not critical of that because I know he's trying stuff. Same as Souček. He is trying. He's running hard. He's running his heart out, bless him. Scotty Parker. You remember Scotty Parker? Scotty Parker was brilliant. He wasn't the most creative player in the park, but he kept the ball well and he got his bum in the way and stuff like that and would run and run and run all day. And that's what I want as a West Ham. I want someone who wears the shirt and will fight for the shirt. And I think Tommy Souček does it. Yes, he's not the most technically gifted player in the world. But as I said, if they're all technically gifted, no one would put a foot in because they'll all be too busy trying to win the ball and do fancy Dan stuff with it. So you've got to have a balance in the squad. I'd like to know why he doesn't want to pay hat-trick bonuses. Most of our players get subbed off. Good point. Yeah, good point. He does have a lot of players after 2 goals, doesn't he? Yeah, maybe. Anyway, so that was a little whistle-stop tour. And I just thought, show you some numbers. You can take them and you can read those numbers as many ways as you want. As I said, there's been positive and negative, and those are the facts. And still, there's what does this mean? We obviously there's so much under the bonnet you can talk about, and that's why we're fans, and that's why there's West Ham channels. There's so many of them because there's lots of different things to talk about. But I just present some numbers, and you can do with them what you want. If there's anything else you want me to look at, let me know in the comments afterwards, and I can go and look at those numbers even more. And if there's, if you want to look at, I don't know, how well that, if it's changed over the last 3 years, I can do that. But anyway, make sure you keep an eye on the channel. Hammer's headlines tonight. We have got the transfer roundup. Transfer rumour roundup, the rush rumour roundup, the original rumour rating. We talk about all the latest rumours. That'll be out probably about 3:00ish today. So keep an eye on the channel for that. We may well have the boys from the West Ham View coming and do a show later on tonight. So keep an eye on the channel and loads of stuff. Tomorrow, Friday, we'll probably have Irish Tommy doing a late show, all that type of stuff, and all that good stuff. Sorry, I didn't realise that wasn't the point of the show. But it's sometimes always public. No worries, Relayed. Always happens. Shooters goals per game versus other players would be good. Yeah, we can do that. but you'll see. I think he's made. We can do that. Yeah, we can do it. Anyway, take care. Don't forget to give us a like, please. Comment, share, all that type of stuff. If you press the like button, he does a little funky animation, which is quite cool. And subscribe button. I think we're over 23,000 subscribers now, so thank you very much for that. And until next time, take care. Stay safe. Stay warm. Keep the faith, my friends. And come on, you bloody irons. Much love. Take care. Have a great rest of the day. And I'll speak to you soon.